Hello, everyone. I want to thank you all for agreeing to the administrator pilot of our Activity Insight instrument that we are getting from Digital Measures. I'm going to go through real quickly and show you some of the things that I think you need to know to complete the pilot, and I'll send you links to log into everything, and I'll send you copies of some of the reports that I want you to take a look at. I'm trying to shoot for the first week of November for you all to get me your feedback, and that feedback will be provided to me through um, a link to a Qualtrics survey. I'd appreciate it if it all just comes in through that Qualtrics survey so that I can analyze the data more completely. We've had approximately 45 faculty members across the university, at least one in every college, participate in the pilot study. And I've received some feedback, and we've got some tweaks underway that are being made right now based on that feedback. And I hope once we get the feedback from those who actually will have administrator access in the system once this goes live, we'll make some additional tweaks as well to help accommodate whatever needs we have on that end. So first thing is I'll send you a link to the page that you're seeing right now, and you will see our University of Southern Mississippi logo, and it'll say underneath there, powered by Digital Measures. That's the company that actually runs Activity Insight or has developed it. When you log in, you'll use your W plus ID number in the field, the first field, and it'll have the at usm.edu already there. So don't put in at usm.edu, just put in your W plus your ID number, and then your SOAR password, whatever that SOAR password happens to be, and that'll log you in. Once you're logged in, it'll take you to the home page. Now, my dashboard is going to look a little differently than your dashboard, just because I have super administrator access. And so I've got access to some additional bells and whistles that you all won't have access to. But first thing that you'll want to do when you get into Activity Insight is go to Manage Activities. And this will allow you to go in and look at your general information, your teaching information, your scholarship and research, and your service. And this pretty much so looks the same for every faculty member or administrator. The only difference is what you can actually do in there. So I would encourage you to go through and look at your various pieces of information that we're pulling in from SOAR. I'm not going to go through all of these just because there's really not much of a point in doing that. You can figure all that out, but I do encourage you to go through. So for example, I encourage you to check your personal and contact information, and where you see the lock on some of these fields, that tells you that the information is being pulled from SOAR, Human Resources, HR part of SOAR, and we can't change that. I can't even change that. The only way that this can be changed is if we make changes in the SOAR database, and then when we do another pull and upload into Digital Measures, it would appear changed. But I encourage you to look at this. You'll notice not everything is locked down. So for example, a person can go in and edit where they're physically located, what their office phone number is. They can put in their personal website. They can put in their race and ethnicity, all that kind of stuff. Photograph. I've got my photograph up there, so we can pull that quite easily. Another one that I want to show you, the area of education. So what you'll see, this is all pulled from SOAR, so I'm just going to pull my PhD. And so what you'll see is that there are some fields that are labeled as R. This means read only, and by that it means that faculty can't edit these because these are being pulled from what's in SOAR HR, but I do have editing ability. So if a faculty member notified us that some of this information was wrong, I'm going to be able to go in and fix it at the same time we fix it in SOAR. And what you'll see up here at the top is I was working with Sharon Hughes over in Human Resources, and we decided to put this notice on this particular panel, basically telling them or telling faculty that if you find any error with your information, your education information, complete this mock form and we'll open up a work order to try to remedy the problem. And so we found by going through a variety of these pilot participants, HR has some faulty data in terms of um, people's education. And so, for example, one faculty member noticed that they got all three of their degrees on the same date. Well, that's not possible. You can't get a bachelor's, a master's, and a PhD all at the same time. And so they put in a work uh, request with us through this mock form, and we're going to be looking at that and going through and looking at their official record and trying to get that updated in SOAR so that the next time we do a poll, all that will be corrected in the system. You'll also notice that you can upload awards and honors. And so, for example, this lead advocate for the Society for Science and the Public, none of this stuff is read-only or locked down. This is stuff that it pretty much so would be coming right off my CV. And so I can put in all kinds of information here. I can put in a brief description. I can even upload a file if I have a certificate and I got a picture of it, or I've got a scan of it, or I've got a PDF of it, or I got a letter of acknowledging the award. I can put all that information there. And so that's adds rich data to these types of things that we normally don't have access to as administrators. Graduate and postgraduate training, right? You can add all kinds of stuff, and I haven't completed all my entries either. But this is where I would put that I was a postdoctoral researcher, and I would put all the information in when I started, when I ended, all that kind of good stuff. One thing that I do want you to kind of take a look at is if you look at annual evaluation, this is where we could have faculty, in January put together their annual evaluation. So they'd put in their calendar year in January, right? This would be for year 27. And this is where they could put their comments on teaching and advising, their comments on their scholarship and research, their comments on their creative, artistic, professional writings, performances, and exhibits, comments on service and plans and goals for the next year. So this is kind of some generic stuff that we typically expect to have in a annual review, and I'll show you that report here in just a moment. Let's see, that's down the page. Let's do this right. Cancel. Leave the page, I guess. Okay. And you'll see down here in teaching that academic advising. So when you go to academic advising, this information is pulled from SOAR. So you can see in the fall of 2017, the number of undergraduate students that I'm advising are 12. The number of graduate students is 2. This information is pulled directly from SOAR. I don't have that locked down at the moment, but I'm debating whether or not to lock that down, and I'd like to have your input on that. This, in my opinion, should be for the academic advising roles that are official, not necessarily just the other types of advising that we all know we do. And there's other places where we can comment on that. So I'd like your input. I'm leaning to locking this down or making it read only so that it matches what is officially in SOAR. But I'd like some feedback on that if you don't mind. So here at Directed Student Learning, this is like theses and dissertations. So, who I'm working with, the title of their work, the stage that it's in progress. I can put additional comments if I want, when they started. So this is like some other things that you might do like advising, right, or oversight. But it's really, I think, Directed Student Learning and belongs more appropriately here. Scheduled teaching. So I don't have all of the scheduled teaching uploaded from SOAR. We've only got through fall of 2016 at the moment because we've been making some fixes, and so we're not completely through 2017, but we will be by the end of the semester. So if you go in and you look at my fall 2016, you'll see that this course was dissertation, the class number. All this stuff is read-only. It's being pulled in directly from SOAR. You can see the zip code for the course, the official enrollment, the number of credit hours, the level, AACSB information if it's relevant for like the School of Business. The delivery mode can be selected, that's not being pulled in from SOAR, or it's editable anyway, I should say. You can look at the grade distributions, and then you can put in, faculty can put in some additional information. So, for example, was this a new course preparation? So I can mark yes or no. And so, adding rich information to our teaching that has been scheduled, I think is good. Did I teach this in a new format? Maybe I want to make some comments on the changes that I made. And I can also upload my syllabus here. And so we can have a situation where we no longer have to think about collecting syllabi from faculty members. They could just put them into Activity Insight, and we could do a query and pull all of those anytime we wanted. So if we look at a more substantial class like my medicinal chemistry class last year, again, you can see the number of students, the number of credit hours. This was undergraduate. You can see the grade distribution. You can see the overall rating by the students that comes right off of that student survey that they do at the end. And then I can put in some additional rich information. And then I did put my syllabus here. So an administrator or department chair could go in and pull my syllabus for that at any time that they wanted. Scholarship, research, creative activities. There's a place here where faculty can build NIH and NSF biosketches. They can put in information on contracts, fellowships, grants, and sponsored research. We are in the process of working on this particular field, so there shouldn't be much, if any, data in there yet. We're going to pull that data straight from ORA, and we're working with them to get the data in the format that we need, so that's why we're a little bit behind with that. But that'll be available, where that'll be pulled every semester. Intellectual property, presentations, so any presentations that have been done, you can put in the presentation, what you did. You can even put in the presentation file if you wanted to and store it there. All kinds of information can be put in on the presentation side. Presentations pretty much so have to be put in one by one. There's no real way to batch upload those. But a cool thing is for publications, I've got all of my publications in here right now. So for example, if you look at the journal article, it's published, what the title was, where it was published at, all kinds of information, whether it was peer reviewed. But you'll also notice that with my co-authors, I can mark whether or not they're students and what their level is. And so this is going to be a great tool for us to know who's doing work with undergraduate researchers or graduate researchers. We can actually query that data. I had a need to actually know how many people were actually working with undergraduates a couple of years ago when I was putting together a Beckman Foundation proposal. And I tell you, it was really difficult to figure that out. You had to send out email after email after email, and you got low rates of return. I wish we had this available then, where I could have just queried pretty much so how many people are doing research with undergraduates for a particular set of departments, and there's the information that I'm after. I put in the full text to the item so people can get the paper. But the cool thing about this is you don't have to enter these in one by one. Faculty can actually go to import, and they can either import all of their information from a BibTeX file. If they use EndNote or Mendeley or Zotero or Google Scholar, whatever, they can build a BibTeX file and choose import. Or if they are fortunate enough to have their publications published and abstracted by Web of Science, Crossref, or PubMed, they can go through and select these and import them automatically with just a few clicks. And so it's pretty self-explanatory when you go through it. You just do a search on the author name, go through, pick the publications you want to import, and you're pretty much so there, and everything gets pulled over. The only thing that doesn't get pulled over is whether or not your authors are undergraduates, graduate students, or postdoctoral researchers. And so you'd have to go back and select that. And I would encourage people to do that because, again, that's providing that rich information that we typically don't have access to. Service, you got university, professional, and public. I won't spend a whole lot of time on this, but what you'll see is that individuals can go in and put in their service activities. And again, this is pretty much still going to be one by one, and they can put in all kinds of information. None of it is actually absolutely required. So, but you do have to put at least a start date. That's really the only thing that's going to be um, required of this. I mean, it'll kick back. So you don't necessarily have to put in a description of your responsibilities or whether you're elected or appointed or this hours spent per year. But you got to fill in a couple of things, and it will. So you don't have to fill in everything. Is what I'm basically trying to say here. So those are the things that the faculty members have gone through and done in terms of um, the pilot program that we had, and I got a lot of positive feedback from that. Now, one of the things that we're going to be able to do as administrators is actually run reports, and so you can go to the Run Reports activity, and you'll see a variety of different reports that we actually have access to. You will not have access to all of these reports, and at the moment, in fact, we don't have every report that we could possibly want. But just to give you kind of an idea, you can run AACSB reports, things that are required for that particular accrediting body, the ABET accrediting body for faculty vita and faculty qualifications. That stuff can be pulled directly from Activity Insight and build these particular reports in no time, and they're in the right format, and you're ready to go. You could look at the number of academic degrees earned, the annual evaluation report, awards and honors. You can even get birthday reports if you wanted to know, when everybody's birthday was in your particular unit. You could figure that out pretty easily. You can figure out what the creative works by the faculty are. General service. You can run an NSF or an NIH BioSketch. I'll talk a little bit about that one in a minute. We can run faculty rosters. We can look at scheduled teaching. We can run Vita. We can do all kinds of neat things with this particular tool. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the annual evaluation report. So I built a report for myself, and I'm not going to run it here because this would just run for everyone. But I'm going to come up here to manage activities. I'm going to run what's called a rapid report, and it's basically the same thing, but it only runs it for me, so it'll show you pretty quickly. So I'm going to run the annual evaluation report, and I'm going to run it for 2016, just because we got all the data in there for 2016. I'm going to click what I want it to output as. I could have it output as a Microsoft Word, a PDF, or a web page. I'm going to go ahead and pick on the Microsoft Word document. I'm going to run that report. It's going to run real quick. I'm going to choose, because I'm on my Macintosh, you got to choose which one you want. And I want to have it open up with Word. And click OK. And of course, this is going to open up. Why isn't it opening up? Oh, there it is. Somehow it was hiding from me. Sorry about that. And so you can see this would have been my annual evaluation report in 2016 that basically I could have turned into the department if we were accepting these types of reports. And I want your comments on whether or not we should be using this across the board as an annual evaluation report. And keep in mind that we can tweak a little bit for schools or different colleges. We can tweak it a little bit. So there is some customization that can occur. But this is the generic one that's built into their what they call their base platform. And so what you'd see is my teaching and advising. It would give all the information, the number of students I taught, the total credit hours I generated, the mean overall rating of the course for fall, summer, and spring. You would see the directed student learning, who I was working with. You would see my supervised undergraduate research. You would see honors theses people that I was working with in terms of their honors theses. You would see my peer-reviewed publications, my presentations, my research, creative, scholarly activity that's in progress. You would see my awards that I got that year, my administrative assignments, any college service that I was doing, departmental service, um, some professional activities. Now, I didn't type in my plans and goals in that particular thing, but if I had typed them in that annual evaluation under the general information heading, then that would have appeared there as well for 2016. So I think, just a few clicks, I'm done. I've got an annual evaluation report ready to go. Let me get out of that one. So what I really want you to kind of do is go in and play with some of these different um, reports that you'll have, and there should be enough data in there for you to run these at the various levels that you're at. So shouldn't be much of a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and log out of Activity Insight for right now, and I want to show you a couple of reports that we're having built right now, and I will share the files with you, and I want to kind of get your input on these reports. So for example, there's one called Activity Summary that they're trying to launch for us, which would, if you look at it, and it's kind of hard to see, but basically it would list the faculty name, last name, first name. It would list their college, their department, the awards and honors. It's kind of hard to read this because it's so crammed up, but it would basically tell you how many of the things that each faculty member got, okay? Publications, professional service, all those kinds of things that they were doing. And then it would go through and list the awards. Well, it wouldn't list them, but awards and honors, would look in the awards and honors section, and it would list all records for a particular date that we were trying to run. So you would see that the report would have a particular run date. So you could run it from a particular starting date to a particular ending date if you happen to be interested in what kind of scholarly activity have people done in the department in the last, quarter, so 3 months. You could put January 1st to March 31st or whatever, and run the report that you need, and that would be generated for you very quickly. The other one is Summary of Scholarship. Where again, this would list, you could have a report start date and a report end date, and this would be departmental level. So you could run it for each department, and basically you would be able to get this type of information, so it would count the number of information that you have, but it would also then give you the this stuff tells you how it is determining whether or not something is counted. So you can look at that report when I send it your way. And then Summary of Service. So if you look at this, this would allow us to run a report and see what kind of service activities people are doing. So maybe you want to know who in the college is doing an awful lot of service, and you don't want to burden them with the next committee. You can actually run a report, look and see who's doing what types of service, and then find out who's maybe a little service light, if you will, and maybe identify a good person who's not doing a whole lot of service at the moment to be on a particular committee or a particular task force, whatever the case may be. So it would be college, department, faculty member. It'd give you their academic rank, their tenure status. All that stuff would be pulled directly out of the system, and it would give you a count of the individual services at the university level, the department level, so on and so forth, and give you a nice overview of what's going on. Now, I also want to mention that the cool thing about Activity Insight is that we can actually have custom reports built. So if there's something that we need to have queried in the system, we can have Digital Measures develop a query for us. So if you think of any other types of reports that you might like to have, let me know in that Qualtrics survey, and I will reach out and see if they have it already available and can deploy it for us, or if it's something that they can build. And they work really well with us on building a variety of different reports. So really, the sky's kind of the limit. And now I just want to mention a couple of things about digital measures. I think digital measures is going to be able to give us a lot of insight into what faculty are doing and allow us to share that information with stakeholders and with others and make better decisions because of the data that we have. So, for example, we quite frequently know those faculty that are doing really, really, really good things and are kind of superstars. But there's an awful lot of faculty that are, doing a lot of good work, but maybe just not generating the buzz that those few faculty are. And so, it's hard for us to communicate all the good things that we're doing. And I have been here long enough now, and I've heard over the years, that we're one of the best kept secrets in the South, that we do a lot of really good things, and if only we could get our message out. I think this is going to help us get that message out because we can query in and see what people are doing and have university communications and have the president and the provost give them the information that they need to share with our stakeholders so that they can tell the good stories that are going on, not just the stories of the superstar faculty, but of the good, solid faculty that are keeping their nose to the grindstone and working hard every day to do good work that just doesn't, for whatever reason, get the media attention that some of the other work does. So I think that's going to be very important. And another thing that we're going to be able to deploy once this is in place is web profiles. So I just got back from a conference, and there are many universities that are using web profiles in digital measures. And what that allows you to do is build your website around the data of digital measures. And of course, we'll have to be working with university communications and the president's office and all that when the website changes happen. But what I'm hopeful of is that we'll be able to do this. And so basically, a faculty member will be able to go in and enter in their information in Activity Insight, and the web profiles will pull from that and keep their web profile up to date all the time. If you look at our web profiles right now, they're sorely out of date, and we don't have enough people that can just go out and determine what's available and what needs to be updated on Doug Masterson's web profile. But this, I could go in, if we have that web profiles turned on, I could enter in my data, and I could say, I want that publication and the publication from last year and this most recent publication. I want those on my web profile, and I want this to be my research interest. I could put all that in, and it would automatically, within a matter of 10 minutes, as I understand it, update the web profile so that the faculty's outward-facing profile to the public can remain up to date and current. And so the power of this is that I can enter my data once. I'm going to use it for annual evaluations. It could be used to keep up my web profile. We're going to be able to query it to find out who's doing good work and how we need to get that good work out into the community, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of potential with this digital measures platform, or Activity Insight as the tool's really called. Digital Measures, again, is the company. So I want to stop there. Give you an opportunity to go in and look at your own data and play with some of those reports and complete the Qualtrics survey that will be in the email that will give you the link to this particular video, and give me all the feedback that you have, good, bad, things that you find exciting about it, things that you find troubling about it. It will require faculty at the very beginning to spend some time putting their information in, but I think we can help manage that by doing a rollout where maybe we start with just 1 year of annual evaluation type data, and then faculty, as they have time, can go in and add more and more previous year's data. But I understand, but there's only so much time in a day. I get that, but I think this is going to, in the long run, save us a lot of time. So I look forward to your feedback. Again, I'd like to have your feedback that first week of November. I'll send out a definite deadline. I don't think this should take a whole lot of your time, but I do encourage you to go in there and play with it and be honest with me and give me your feedback. So I appreciate any feedback that you can give. Thanks for participating.